Hello viewers, I'm Mayuresh Joshi and I welcome you to the Power Apps course Basic to Advanced. In the previous sections or previous videos we have seen the introduction, how to create the developer account and how to start the development with Power Apps. In this lesson we are going to see the basic controls in Canvas app. So let's switch to the Maker portal using make.powerapps.com and we will create one simple Canvas app. So navigate to the app section and click on new app. Select the Canvas app and give the app name. Select the format as tablet and click on create. So as we have seen in previous video that under the insert section we can see different controls. Now for the beginners who don't know about what are controls on the screen, it's just like the elements that we are going to place on the screen. For example, this Power Apps has a default screen 1. Okay. And if you want to put some controls in this screen for your app, you can put those controls and those are called as Power Apps controls. For example, if you add a text label, you can see that label here. So in future, whenever we are going to develop a complex Power Apps application, you need to use different controls to fulfill the business requirement. For example, here, if I want to show one label and one text input box, I can add a label here and then I can add a text input box. And here you can see that if you click on this preview app button, you can see that I have that text label and the text input. So these are the basic two controls that we have seen so far. Now each control has its dedicated properties with the help of which we can customize that control. For example, if I select the label, I can see its name. Its name is label 1. But if I want to update the label 1 name, I can just click on this pencil icon and I can change its label name. So I will say LBL first name. Okay. Now this is its unique name. Now if you add some other control with the same name, it's not going to allow you. So let's try adding one more label. And if I give its same name by copying this name and pasting this name to here, it will throw me an error saying this name is already being used. That means you cannot add two elements with the same name. And this naming convention is going to use in the next section of the course, or whenever you're going to create different applications, these control names you're going to use to refer their values. I will explain that in detail in a moment, but for now let's add two label. One is this LBL first name and let's call the second one as LBL last name. Now this is the label name, but what is the label value? Here the current label value is text. So if you see its text property is text. If I want to change its property to say first name, I can give it here and I can give the last name from here or here. And if I now preview the app, you can see that I have added two label controls where their values is first name and last name. Okay. Now, if you're aware about HTML, we used to give the ID or class to particular control. Okay. So that when you want to refer that element from JavaScript using document.getElementById, we used to pass the ID of that control. Similarly, this label name we are going to use in our formulas. Okay. Then even you can copy paste the control. So I'm just right clicking on this and you can copy it, or from your keyboard just control C and control V, and that's going to paste the control. Now, as I said, each control has its own dedicated properties. For example, if you go to label and from this section, you can see all the properties available for this control. So where do you want to align? So it is currently left aligned. You can align it like center. so that whatever width that control has, it is now center aligned. Then I'm not going to explain all the properties of a label from here. It is self-explanatory, but just understand that it's not like all the controls will have same properties. For example, if you see the default value, there is a default property. Okay, if you see here, this is a default property, but there is no default property for a label. Okay, so you need to understand what each property does, what is its use, and as you keep learning the power apps, as you keep developing different power apps, you will get to know about what are the different properties, what is their uses. Okay, so let's go one by one. What are different controls in Power Apps? One is text label, which we have already seen. Next is edit form. Okay, so this is an advanced control which we might not cover in this session, but to give you the idea about this control is that if you see on the left side, I was started creating one custom form where I'm going to ask the user what is their first name, what is their last name. But if you have some data source, okay, let's say if you are aware about SharePoint or SQL, these data sources have their own columns like first name, last name, organization, department. So if you connect that data source with this form control, it's going to give you the controls automatically. Okay, so just to give you a simple idea on how this edit form control works, let me add one data source. In Power Apps, to add a data source, you can navigate to this data section and click on add data. Here select your data source. It can be your Excel sheet, SQL, SharePoint. So let me add one SharePoint. If you're not aware about SharePoint, just think that it's a database and we are going to connect that database to this edit form. I'm going to cover the details about what is SharePoint in my next few videos. So if you see here, we are going to learn about SharePoint basics. Okay. But for now, just to show you how the edit form control works, I will add a sample list. Let's say employee details, I will add. And once I select that list, you can see that under my data source section, that list is added. In this way, we can add a data sources in Power Apps. So now you need to give the data source as employee details to this form control. And now if you see, it will start automatically adding few fields. Now we need only one column and layout would be horizontal and the default mode would be new. So if you see, I have this form control where I can automatically see the labels. That means the questions that we are going to ask to the user to submit this form. We will go in detail about where can we use the form controls, how we can set its default mode, how to connect with different data sources in our upcoming lectures. Then the next control would be text input. We have already seen this is a text box. So if you don't want any default value, just remove it from here. And now you can see that you will get a blank text box. Then the next control is vertical gallery. So what is vertical gallery? Okay. So gallery is a control in Power Apps which will give you a list of items. Okay. If you have worked with Excel sheet, you know that if you have a repetitive content, let's say uh, details which comprises first name, last name, organization, and you see different rows in that Excel sheet. So this is nothing but a gallery which shows different values. Okay, and you can customize this gallery. We will we will see more about the gallery control in details in next video, but for now just understand that the gallery control provides a repetitive data or the data that you are going to show to the user in a organized manner. Then let's add one more screen just to add few more controls. Then we have the rectangle control, which is just a rectangle control, so that if you want to create any different section on a screen altogether like this, and another section here on the right, you can do like this. So these are the just rectangle controls in Power Apps. Then you have a date picker control. This date picker control will give you the ability to select different dates based on the year, month, and date. So you can select the date control as well. Then you have a button control. So button control is basically allow you to interact with your formulas, data, screens, navigate. Lot of things we can do with the button control. I will create a dedicated video for the button control and how we can work with button control for performing different data operations. Then the next control would be input. So under input section, so these are the popular controls that we have just seen. But under input controls, you can see button, text input, which we have already seen. Then you get the pen input as well. So pen input control will allow you to have a control which can be written by your mouse or even by touchpad. Okay, you can clear them, you can select the colors. So these kind of activities we can do with the help of pen control. Then we have drop down. So drop down is just a drop down where we have different options. Now this drop down has different properties. For example, if you want to, instead of the default is 123, instead of 123, if you want to show different countries, so just go to its items properties, and instead of this formula, write a formula in brackets like this: India, US, UK. And now you can see you will get three different options. Then the next property is combo box. And now what is difference between this choice and combo box? So combo box provides the ability to search the items. For example, you can search by item 6. Okay, and you will get that option. But that option was not available here. And I will talk more about combo box and drop downs in upcoming videos, because combo box are more preferred than drop downs, because combo box can store not only one value but different columns from different data sources. Next is date picker, which we have already seen. Then a list box. So it is just a box which you can select multiple values or single values. Then we have the checkbox. So it is just the normal checkbox which you can use. Then you have the radio button control. This also has a different items property. That means you can use, for example, like this: 1 comma 2 comma 3. Okay, and you will get each radio buttons like this. Okay, the next control is toggle. So with the help of toggle button, you can make it on and off. Next control is slider. The slider control has this behavior where you can select its value from 0 to 100, or whatever max value you will select. For example, the max value is 100, I can make it 10. So when you want to give a rating, for example, based on 0 to 1, you can make use of this slider control. Then the next control is rating control. The rating control provides a similar feature, but it has a stars or asterisks, and you can select their values. The next control is timer control. Timer control can basically starts when you want to perform some activity after certain interval of time. So this control is very useful while developing the applications. I personally used this control a lot of time. Then the next control is edit form, which we have seen. Display form is similar to the edit form, but it will just display the information instead of collecting the information from the end user. Rich text editor, you might have seen this control quite often on different forms. So this control basically provides you the ability to write a rich text so that you can have bullets or sequence of numbers like this. You can make them bold, italic, underline. So this is a rich text editor experience which you can get using this control. Then next is address input, and you see that it's a premium control, and so the premium license is required. I have not personally used this control anywhere, but in case you need it in future, you can make use of it. Then under from the input section, we will switch to display section where we have text label, which we have already seen. Then a HTML text control. So here you can write a HTML code, which will get converted into HTML and you can view. For example, this HTML is in blue color. You can see that here it is applied with color is equal to blue. So you can write this markup and you can use this HTML control. I will just quickly cover the things which are important. Then you have this forms control, which is again, this is now deprecated. That means it's no more in use. I have also not used this control. Then you have a layout. So I have explained you about vertical gallery. So all these galleries provides a similar output, but it's just the behavioral changes. For example, vertical gallery will show you the items one below other, and horizontal gallery will show you the items one beside other. Okay, from left and right, and this is from top to bottom. Then you will get a flexible height gallery. Then you have data table to show the data in a grid format. You have containers. I will talk about containers in detail in the next videos. Then you can add the images, you can add the camera control, you can add videos, you can add audio, you can have microphone control. Then you have different icons. You can make use of these icons to use anywhere on the app. These are very helpful icons. Okay. Then you have different shapes that you can add on your screen. You have different charts. So based on the chart, for example, let me add one of the chart and you see that even you can add a chart on your Power Apps screen. You just need to provide the data source correctly. So if you can see the currently it has some default data source like the area, city, density, and population. This graph is showing that those details. Then you have line chart, pie chart, and Power BI tile. So if you are aware about Power BI, it's one of the tool of Power Platform which can be used for analytics purpose, and you can insert that Power BI tile in the Power Apps screen as well. Then you have some AI builder. So all these are kind of advanced controls which you can use in your application for AI related activities. Then you have some mixed reality activity controls. I have personally not used any of these, but might be helpful in future. So overall, Power Apps provide almost all kind of controls that you can add on your screen, and you can make use of them. In our upcoming videos, whenever we are going to start actually developing the Power Apps with a real-time business case, at that time, whenever we are going to use this control, I will try to explain more details about each of the controls, how you can set their values, how you can read the values given by the user. Just a very simple example I will try to give in this session so that it will be more beneficial and you can understand how the controls can be used in Power Apps. So let's take one text input control, and you want to show its value in a label. Okay. Now the requirement is that whatever I will put here, that value I want to read and I want to show that value to this label. So this is my very first, I would say, a Power Apps application or Power Apps requirement. Now to achieve this requirement, what you need to do is first select the text input, copy its ID. I would not say ID, it's a identification name of this control. Then switch back to the label and select its text property. Now this is hard coded value. Okay, whatever you hard code it here, it will show you that value here. Now we want to make it dynamic. So whatever user selects here, we want to show it here. So we have copied this identification name of that control, and I will go here, and instead of hard coded value, we will make it dynamic. So I will put its identification name dot text. Now when you see, when I press the dot button, we can see different properties. Now what are these properties? These properties are the properties of this text box which we have seen here. So in short, inside the screen we can access the control and we can access its properties. So this label is accessing the text property of this text input. So just select that control, select the text property. You can just click on this text button, or you can select this drop down and go to the text property. Now give the this text box name dot text, and now you see whatever I have written here, it's getting added here. Okay. So this is our first basic requirement that we have successfully achieved with the help of Power Apps. Now, as I said earlier, whenever we are going to create actual business case, or when we are going to create actual applications, I will try to cover more details about each of the control. I hope you are now clear about how the different controls can be added on a screen in Power Apps and how we can access their properties. If you have any doubts or queries, please let me know in the comment section. Until then, thanks for watching and have a nice day.